Look at this star, isn't it neat? No, it isn't. And it's certainly not neat and tidy. Hi, I'm Heather. Today I want to talk about upcycling, collecting, and hoarding. And by hoarding, I don't mean in the clinical sense. It's a whole psychological condition that this is not about. So, first of all, the definitions of the three things. Upcycling is when you take something that is old, used, worn out, whatever, and turn it into something new with minimal processing, as compared to recycling, where you might take a plastic or glass bottle, for example, and melt it down in order to turn it into something new. Upcycling would do minimal changes. It could take a bottle and partially melt it in a little kiln to turn it into like a slumped spoon rest. I saw some of those for sale by somebody at a local store a few years ago, and I really wanted one. I never ended up getting one, unfortunately. And when you upcycle, you have to collect resources to upcycle. So you have to collect whatever materials you're going to use. So if you want to make for example, those little plastic decorative flowers, you might, collect the plastic drink containers, and you would need supplies like your paints or markers or whatever you're using, and like possibly something like to cut it with, melt it with, something like that. So you've got your materials / resources, and you've got your tools. With collecting, you can collect things that are like more expensive or valuable type of materials, like copper and other metals, really good wood, for example, that hasn't been pressure treated or something to make furniture out of, or actual like old furniture and refurbish it, things like that. And you could also collect things that are just like plastic soda bottles, things not seen as worth much, and turn them into something better. I even saw a lady that collected lint, and I'm not sure if she had a special source for it, because her lint wasn't like just like all gray, like a lot of lint can be kind of a gray tones. She had lint that was like, very specifically these different colors, and she used it to make art, and I saw it for sale over at Catoctin Color Fest one year, and she had like guarantees on her work about helping clean it and things like that. And so it's not really, it doesn't matter what the value of the thing is that you're collecting, and you can still be collecting it and upcycling it. Where it gets into hoarding, I believe, in a non-clinical sense. The clinical sense has to do with the psychology of letting go and anxiety and things like that. And that's not what I'm getting into. That's a totally separate topic. But the hoarding I'm talking about, by my definition, where it changes from collecting to hoarding, is when you don't use the resources that you collect, regardless of how society decides what the value of those things is. I mean, if you collect expensive jewelry, but you never wear it, to me, if you don't use it, it's hoarding. So on the same token, if you buy like, old or whatever, collect like cars or jewelry or something expensive, but you use it or you display it or you do something with it, then it's not hoarding, no matter how much you have, as long as you are able to control yourself, be able to store it properly, stuff like that. Otherwise, anytime that it becomes a problem or you're not using it, I consider that getting into the hoarding territory. And that goes down to the more obvious that people, I think about, of the things like the lint or the old toothbrushes or whatever it is that is seen as less valuable. If you're collecting it and using it, and you're not collecting it a lot faster than you're using it, or collecting it, not using it at all, then, once you're mainly collecting it and you're not really using it, then it starts to head into the hoarding category, no matter how much or how little you have. Some people have more space. Some people can collect a lot of supplies to make upcycling projects because they have the space, and they're having it clean and organized, and they're using it at a reasonable rate. Excuse me. But if you're collecting your supplies to upcycle, you have plans for them and everything, but the projects are never happening, there's no follow through, or you're just collecting it, putting it in boxes, you can't get to it, then it's hoarding. And for me personally, I've been collecting a lot of things to upcycle, and I was doing projects at a reasonable pace, but it hasn't been working out really well, not the way I want. I have not been happy with just trying to do a project at the dining table, or out on my porch, or just wherever I can squeeze something in, and people start piling their stuff around my project that I'm trying to work on. The cats get into things, like if I'm trying to paint, the cats might get their fur all over stuff. It's a problem for me, and my family doesn't like me taking up the dining table or things like that and leaving my stuff sitting there, because a lot of my projects, especially like with painting glass and stuff, you paint and you have to let it sit for a certain period of time before you can put the next coat on. And so the project stays there for an extended period of time. I am in the process of trying to change from collecting but not using, aka hoarding, my supplies because I can't use them, to making a maker studio, creating my own space, my maker studio that will be behind me, to upcycle and do other projects, so I can do them more quickly, so I have a place to organize my resources and have it be my space where I can work and leave projects out, and not have my projects interfere with the other things that we need to be able to do in our own home. Once I have my things organized and have my own space to work, it'll make it that much easier to keep the rest of the house organized and finish the other renovations that we're working on. So that's basically why I was talking about hoarding, because that's kind of what it was becoming, because I wasn't taking the time to work on projects. And part of the reason I wasn't taking the time to work on projects was because it was so difficult to do, because I didn't have my own space to do it. So I have been in the process of cleaning this basement for about 3 weeks. About 1 week to kind of go through this area that you can see, which involved throwing some stuff away, donating some things, which I had to do a massive amount of laundry that took me about 2 weeks of constantly doing laundry to do, causing my pump on my washing machine to break, actually. I had to take a little pause so my husband could replace the water pump on our washer so I could continue doing the laundry. I basically just wore it out. The way I found out that I had broken the washer was I opened the door without realizing that the front load washer was about half full or more with water. It's, first of all, never supposed to be that full. Multiple, problems happened. And, it wasn't sensing that it was overfilled and things like that. Something in my eye. So when I opened the door, water started pouring out like a waterfall all over the carpet, which I don't know why the previous owners put carpet in the laundry room, but they did. And so part of my cleaning up the basement is going to be removing the carpet, which I wanted to do anyway. It's just more urgent. Anyway, I keep going on tangents or getting into the little nitty-gritty bits. The overall idea is that I'm cleaning and organizing the basement. I have got a lot of it done, but there's a lot left to do. There's a whole section that I couldn't do until after I'd finished the laundry, which I just finished late last night, and some of it's hanging up back here to dry. That's mostly grocery bags, luggage, and a little bit of clothing, coats and stuff. I was like, if it doesn't make it through the wash, oh well. I was getting desperate of just getting stuff cleaned. So I was washing leather coats in the washer because they'd been hanging out down here. And wool coats and things like that. And if it makes it, it makes it. If it doesn't, it doesn't. And I'll deal with that. Which it seems everything actually turned out pretty well so far. I, got rid of stuff recycled and threw out and donated things, but the stuff that's left is, some of it is organized into piles. Some of them more rough piles than others. Some of it I haven't quite got to yet. So it's getting organized into categories like sewing supplies, painting supplies, things like that. And I'm hoping that I'll be having some different workstations for different kinds of projects. So I can be working on a glass painting project, for example, that has to sit there. I can paint a layer of the glass paint on or whatever project, let it dry how it needs to dry, and be able to go work on something else or do something else around the house or whatever, and then come back to it and not have the cats in it or anything like that. Not have it in the way, not have it getting dirty because it's sitting in the kitchen or something. So I'm really busy with a lot of things. I haven't forgotten about upcycling, but there's just a little bit of a pause, partly because of my computer and partly because I'm trying to make a better space to work. I'm hoping to still do some other little projects because this is going to take a while. But I'm hoping to do some other little projects here and there while I finish this. And some of the work in the basement is going to have to wait. I should be able to get it all cleared out, organized, set up in a way that's usable. It's going to take a while because I'm going to have to lift up furniture and remove carpeting because I don't want to just pull it out of the laundry room. I want to pull it out of my whole side of the basement because carpet doesn't work with what I want to do in the basement. I don't want pins and needles stuck in the carpet, or when I'm cutting metal, little metal shards stuck in the carpet that I can't get out. I don't need that kind of hazard, and I don't want wet paint and glue to spill and then dry in there or try to be washed out. So I just want the carpet gone. That should hopefully not take too long. But other projects are going to have to wait. Hopefully not wait too long. Like I want to move the laundry room to a mud room we need to make up in the main level, and at the same time put in a radon pipe down here because our radon levels are way too high. And so, I don't want to be breathing in the radon and sitting in the radon like I am right now for longer than necessary. The main points are upcycling is great. You need to have space to collect whatever it is you need to upcycle or to use for your upcycling projects. If you're not actually upcycling what you collect, then it's just hoarding. That I had gone from collecting to hoarding because I wasn't getting the projects done in a timely manner. That I am changing that because I am making a space for myself. I'm creating my own maker studio, and I'll be able to get my projects done, and I'm hoping to expand the types of things that I can do. There's a lot of things I'm hoping to do. How quickly they get done, I don't know. Some things may not get done. Things I'm considering doing are starting a website. I have a URL for that, but I haven't made the website. Having some sort of either selling my stuff through other local stores or finding a way to sell my stuff in town, and maybe having some workshops or classes or something, if not in my studio, then in like some local shops, things like that. I hope to see you again real soon. Keep upcycling.